Once again, my friends, we are back. It's been a little bit of time, hasn't it? Why, yes, it has. It's been 2 weeks. That just seems to be my steady routine now. Every 2 weeks, I can actually stream some fine games for you fine folks out there. Riding a little bit solo tonight, but that's perfectly okay. I've got more than enough info and everything else to make everyone laugh and giggle and eat all the cookies. My name is Kyle. This is Kyle Replaces Childhood. And tonight, we're putting a major focus on a whole fuckload of games from before I was born. Some of my favorite arcade games of all time. Some games that I'm sure no one in their right mind has ever played. Some very historically significant games. Some games that, again, I think just probably need a little look at and are probably ones that more people should be playing. And we're going to be starting out with one of my favorite arcade games of all time, the sequel to one of the most popular arcade games of all time. This is Godless. Godless, also known in some circles as Galaga III, is the sequel to Galaga, the sequel to Galaxian. Oh, well, Galaga's the sequel to Galaxian. God, I'm starting off great. But Galaga's the sequel to Galaxian, and then Galaga itself has this sequel, Godless, which then later led to Galaga 88. And really, it's one of the... Oh, gotta love that sound. Gotta love that fucking sound. Ugh. It's really one of the arcade games that you're most likely to see in your standard bar, restaurant, any type of environment like that. I absolutely love Godless. I don't know why they ask for your blood type after you rank in the high score, but you know that's their own prerogative. I actually discovered this arcade game first on vacation with my family in, I believe, 1998. I think that was our vacation to Hawaii. So this arcade game made it to the Hawaiian Islands just fine. Subtle changes that you might notice if you've played a good amount of Galaga in the past. First off, I'm trying to eliminate as many enemies as possible because I'm sure many of you know in Galaga you've got the tracking beam, the homing beam, which allows you to capture enemies, or your ship gets captured and you can grab it back. In this game, you can actually capture enemies and give yourself a larger attack formation. Now, the reason why I was trying to kill as many enemies as possible before doing that is because there are frequently waves of enemies coming in the middle of... Oh, that was awful. And damn, that's going to really hinder my ability to do the next section of the game, which is the bonus round. So your lead ship is the main ship that matters when you do a capture. And so if you get hit, you lose all of your ships. Now, the challenging stages in Godless are a little bit different from the bonus stages in Galaga. It's basically like a juggling type mechanic. So I'm trying to juggle these ships to spell the word bonus. They gradually speed up, it becomes more difficult, and that's when having multiple ships at your disposal is very helpful. Since I don't have that, I will not be able to get the bonus at all. But hopefully the next round I will get another opportunity to do a ship capture and show you guys what the bonus stages are actually meant to look like. And variant from the standard waves of enemies come out and meet you at the top. This time they actually drive towards the bottom and essentially suicide attack, and the enemies that I don't kill will meet me at the bottom. You also might notice that I am not restricted to just going left and right in Godless. I can actually move all about the screen. And I lose my ship again. Oh well, we'll probably play a second round even if I die here, just because I love this game so much. But I'm not restricted from just going left and right like I would in Galaga. I can go up and down and move all around, and really go up about, I'd say about a third of the screen. That's where the limit is. God damn it, Will. Give me a second. I've got to do some minor adjustments. Hold on, folks. For some reason, my headset doesn't like me right now. It's a very bad boy. You're just going to have to sit back and enjoy the mainstream of Godless really quick while I try and figure out why the heck our good friend Will is coming through the speakers and not through my earphones, because otherwise you're going to get a lot of reverb and probably hear his voice twice, which would not be good. There we go, that's a lot better. Sorry about the delay. We're going to play a second round of Godless here. How you doing, Will?
Doing well.
So, Will, I'm sure you've spent a little time. You've played a round or two of Galaga in the past, correct?
A bit.
Yeah, like, Galaga, I think, is a ubiquitous arcade game. It's an arcade game that most everyone's played at one point or another. And the reason why I like showing off Godless is because, one, not many people know of its existence, and two, it's actually, in my opinion, a superior game. There's a lot more strategy. It innovates in a way like Galaga innovated upon Galaxian. This innovates upon Galaga, and I don't think Galaga 88 really innovates upon this as much as it probably should. As you can see, I lose one of my ships there from taking a hit, but having 3 will suit me just fine right now. And I really like the fact that I can move up and down in this game. I like the fact that I'm not just restricted to the horizontal plane. I can go above halfway up the screen if I'd like to.
Oh, man. Ugh.
Now the challenging stage, and we're gonna see if we can juggle these guys.
Well, that's just some high-end jargon right there.
What? I am literally juggling.
I'm a PC thug.
I've been called a greasy thug too. It's never fun. Now,
I actually mistook which scene of The Simpsons used the phrase jargon. It's actually from Hail to the Chimp. Your welfare proposal is nothing but a lot of technical jargon and partisan rhetoric.
That's what you get for not hailing to the chimp.
Yes.
God, that makes me feel good. I got the fucking bonus in the bonus stage. The speed increases very fast, and you want to avoid doing an extra shot here or there because it can completely fuck you, and you can lose one of the ships that you're trying to get the bonus with. So early on, it's pretty easy. It gets more and more difficult as the game goes on, obviously. Oh, J-Log, I don't think there would be a speedrunner for this because Galaga 3, Godless, whatever you like to call it, does not have a true ending. Damn it! I got caught. Oof. I'm actually quite lucky that I died right there. If I had died earlier, I would have had to go through those waves of enemies again, and it can be a little bit difficult when you're just the single ship. So dying right there, while it sucks, was at least a little bit beneficial because I don't have to go through the onslaught again as the single ship. And man, I am off today. I'm gonna get the high score, but I am off. It has been, I will be honest, it's been a good year or two since I have last played Godless, and at my peak I could get to about Parsec 15 or 16 on a good day. So, if we get to double digits, I'll be happy, but I don't foresee that happening. Again, additional power-ups. We've got a double shot for the ship, which, if you had maintained your additional ships at this point, they would all get the double shot as well. It shoots a lot faster, and Galaga and Godless, you can only have 2 shots on the screen at a time, so if you miss, like, both of your shots, you have a pretty inopportune moment. And just got caught in the corner there. Looks like we'll probably ended up at Parsec 6, which is okay. Not a great run, but nothing to scoff at either. Obviously, I'm going to try and get going. If I get 70,000, well, speak of the devil. If I would have gotten to 70,000 points, I would have gotten another extra life, but hey. Let's just enter the name. Of course, Will, what's the name going to have to be?
STX.
No! We have a tradition of the name always being Ian R. This will be Ian R.O.T. for Ian Rot.
Oh, well, why don't you make it STX? Or Sexy Randall the Pharaoh Wizard.
Okay, I believe Ian Rotten is 51, and
Or
his
Sexy
blood
Ian
type
the Pharaoh.
and his blood type is questionable. So that is Godless. Godless, a very...
Why is your blood type in there? It's a weird thing.
It's Japan. It's very odd. So we're going to go from Godless to another one of my favorite arcade games of all time. I'd say in terms of like Golden Age arcade games, this probably is my favorite. It doesn't get nearly as much love as it should. This is Moon Patrol by IRM.
That would be, to be honest though, what an incredible way to avoid blood loss at an arcade. Hey, who got this high score and use the initials JLM? That's me, we need your blood right now. You're a perfect match.
So, Moon Patrol is notable for being, oh god, what an awful start. I missed the second jump.
Whoa, before we get started, I've got to do a little something I think you're gonna like and nobody else is gonna recognize. We are the Moon Patrol.
We like to party.
Cruising on the moon. Listen to the Rat Rock Station.
Okay, so
Cruising on the moon. Looking for some action. Turn my raid to the Rat Rock Station. There's no life on the moon other than him.
She wanted me to give her mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. So, Moon Patrol, notable for being...
There it is. Whoop, there it is. Look out, there goes my Martian.
God damn it, Will. I'm trying to be educational on my show about old video games.
Oh my! Like people need to know about Hulk Hogan's musical career.
People do need to know about Hulk Hogan's musical career. Oh,
I'd like to see footage of Hogan playing the bass in the '70s for his like garage band.
There's footage of it in the Real American video.
Is there really?
Yes!
Although Hulk Hogan never got to play bass with Metallica. Like he said he did. He was really just accounting for the future when he knew he'd be such a megastar that he'd be able to join any band in the world.
Mm-hmm. But none of those bands were as good as the Wrestling Boot Band.
I mean, that's legit, though. Hulk Hogan is a legitimate musician.
Yeah, he's actually a pretty good, like, in his time was a pretty good bassist. Okay, important thing about Moon Patrol #1. First arcade game to give you the option of continuing where you left off. That, honestly, is incredibly revolutionary. Because to beat an arcade game in the past, like to beat PacMan, you have your starting lives. You might get an extra life here or there down the road. But by and large, that's all. You have what you start with, and you can't continue on. Moon Patrol is the first arcade game to give you that option. Also, if you take a look at the background right now, you'll notice the scrolling. This is the first arcade game to use the parallax scrolling technique, which is multiple different scrolling elements in the background. As you can see, you've got the green mountains in front and the blue mountains in back to create almost 3D effect. Damn! I should have slowed down to try and avoid that diving missile, but oh well. Nothing much I can do now. But I really like Moon Patrol because it's not a standard shooter. I think sometimes your standard horizontal or vertical shooters can be a little bit boring. Moon Patrol is still a shooter, but you're grounded and you can jump, which I really like. Moon Patrol has I wouldn't say a designated ending, but designated ending points. Your goal in the course, we're on the beginner's course right now. Your goal is to reach Section Z of the beginner's course, then you'll go to the intermediate course, and you'll go to the advanced course after that. Each course gets progressively harder. The terrain is not randomly generated. It's same terrain pretty much. It's same terrain every time, not pretty much every time. So once you have memorization down, you can complete courses relatively easily. And if you'll notice in the top right screen, see the red light flashing saying caution? Enemies are about to spawn. And of course they kill me. So, Moon Patrol I absolutely love. This is a game that you put me in front of it, I can probably spend a half hour just playing it over and over. We'll do a continue right here, just honestly. I'd like to show you how difficult the game gets, and that's honestly the trademark of most of these early arcade games. They are fucking hard. The goal is to lose your money. You are going to lose your money, and the faster that you lose your money, the sooner someone else can play on the machine. It isn't until the rise of the home consoles, and honestly I dare say the rise of the NES, that you're going to be looking at games that aren't meant to be as difficult as hell. And we made it to Section J. We will not make the par time, which I believe is 85 seconds here. Oh, it's just 80. So I will not get a bonus, but it's okay. And we'll try and get to Section O. Oh god, the landmines. I forgot about the landmines. The landmines suck. And so you have a slight control over your moon buggy. There's a momentum element. If you hold the stick forward, you move faster. If you jerk the stick back, you'll move slower, and you can kind of control your jump a little bit. The mines are a pain because they are incredibly close together at points, and you have to have the right momentum to be able to hop over them. As you'll see right now, I'm going to hang back. I don't have enough momentum to clear that mine. But if I go too fast, I won't have enough. I will have too much momentum, and I will careen into the mine there. So yeah, the mines are a bitch, and that's why most people who play Moon Patrol will never make it past the beginner course. I have never made it through the advanced course. I made it to there, but I've never made it through there. And Moon Patrol, it's awfully, awfully difficult, but I still love it because it was different for the time and incredibly innovative. And now we're going to take a look at a little game starring a guy with a dick for a nose.
Hello, I'm Brenda.
This is QBert by Gottlieb. Gottlieb, very innovative company in the arcade scene. They were one of the big pinball manufacturers. Not so much innovative when it comes to arcade games. QBert is their only hit and is really the only game that they are known for in the arcade realm. Gottlieb is really forgotten today because pinball obviously isn't much of a thing today. QBert's interesting because if you'll notice, I just jumped off the ledge. I jumped off the ledge again. And I jump off the ledge a third time. I did that on purpose. So, the first time
Try not to lose your head.
What?
Try not to lose your head.
No, of course not.
You're standing so close to the ledge.
Motherfucker. The first time most people play QBert, that's what happens. They will jump off.
Kyle.
Yes.
Would you take a step back from that ledge, my friend? Okay, I'm done.
I would understand, Will. I would understand. The first time most people play QBert, they jump off the edge and die. That's just what happens. Because QBert is not set up like most arcade machines. Ah, God, I ran into Coily. And honestly, that's what makes it a little bit more difficult to play in an emulated fashion like I'm doing now. So, I'm playing on Xbox One control pad. That's what I do most of my PC gaming on. I have it tilted at a 45-degree angle because that's the way the joystick in QBert is arranged. It's on a diagonal. You can't press left or right or down or up. It's down left, down right, up left. So I have to play essentially with the joystick somewhat sideways. There's not a really ideal way to do that. And just kind of...
Is the implication that he's like cursing when he gets like stopped, or is it that he doesn't speak English?
No, it's cursing. It is,
okay.
It is flat out cursing.
Hey.
God damn it! Why didn't I make the initials KKK? J-Log, yes, there will be Earthbound probably in the near future. I have basically a backlog of old arcade game stuff that I want to go through. So the next two shows are going to be pre-1985 arcade or 1986 and before arcade games. And then we'll probably go back to Earthbound. We'll be doing some more arcade stuff because I think the arcade stuff, that's stuff that most people don't really know that much about. And, for example, QBert had a Saturday morning cartoon where he was a 1950s greaser. QBert's cabinet is also unique in that it had a pinball kicker which is one of the things that would knock a ball out of a hole, like if you shoot it into a drop target. It had that in the bottom of its machine to generate the sound of QBert or Coily, who is the snake, falling off the pyramid and hitting the ground. QBert had a little-known arcade sequel that was very quickly in and out of arcades called QBert's Cubes, which took the QBert mechanics and also added puzzle elements, and most deemed it too complex to play. There was also an unreleased prototype called Faster, Harder, More Challenging QBert, which never got a release because it was too difficult. And that's one of the stigmas that QBert has. It's a game that a lot of people just find too difficult to play. It's very disorienting, it's very confusing, but I really like it because of that. It's not the most fun to play emulated, like I'm doing right now. I will fully admit that. But it is incredibly enjoyable if you have an arcade that has a cabinet of QBert. It's well worth playing a couple of rounds of because of just the uniqueness of the diagonal control scheme. And honestly, I think QBert's pretty adorable. I have his Funko Pop because I will buy anything QBert related that I can. He also made a cameo appearance, or actually a prominent appearance in Wreck-It Ralph as the example of a video game character really truly down on his luck, because for a long while no one knew who actually owned QBert, because Gottlieb was sold to Bally Midway, and they sold the rights to QBert off at some point in the past to some other company that no longer exists. I don't know who actually technically owns the rights to QBert at this point. So, QBert, a really interesting and good idea for an arcade game. I love it. I know many probably don't, but I do. It can be a little bit difficult to get into. So, Will, did you see King of Kong?
I don't think I have actually.
You've never seen King of Kong: A Fistful of Quarters?
No, I feel very innately familiar with what it is, though, but I don't think I've actually ever seen it. Or I've seen the clip of I've seen the money clip in my mind of what the film is all about, which is Billy Mitchell taking bottles of hot sauce off the shelves at a Walmart and putting his bottles of hot sauce at eye level.
Well,
what's the line he uses to justify it?
I don't remember. God damn it!
It's something about like how like life's always a competition or something like an asshole would say.
I believe it is. Life is a competition, and I always want to be number one. That's what I've always tried to achieve in my life, and I have been number one in everything that I put myself into. In PacMan, I was the first person to get a perfect score in PacMan. I was number one. But this is Make Tracks, and the reason why I brought up A Fistful of Quarters was for the very simple reason of, in A Fistful of Quarters, you get introduced to video games referee, Walter Day. Walter Day is a fascinating man in Ottumwa, Iowa. He created an arcade called Twin Galaxies. When he realized there were a lot of young players getting really good scores at his arcade, he started contacting the manufacturers of the arcade games, asking if anyone was keeping track of scores, and no one was, and that baffled him, so he offered up his services to keep track of arcade scores. And basically, the idea of playing video games competitively in most aspects, that is all thanks to Walter Day determining that that would be a good idea to keep track of player scores in arcade games. Now, the reason why I brought up A Fistful of Quarters and Walter Day and all that is this is Make Tracks. And Make Tracks is Walter Day's favorite arcade game, and the one that he held several records for. So, just a little bring-in. This is a 1981 game, based on the Maze Craze type games that were heralded in by PacMan, and then followed up with games like Ladybug, Mousetrap, one of my favorites, Lock and Chase, which we will be seeing later. But Make Tracks is a different kind of maze game in that you're not trying to collect everything in the maze. You are literally just trying to paint the entire maze with your green paint. You're a roaming paintbrush, and your entire duty is to paint this maze. You've got two little creatures following you. It's pretty simplistic, but it's a game like a lot of early arcade games. They fall into one of two categories. You either start off with relatively ease, and you become more difficult over time, or the game just says, "Fuck you. You've got to play me. You've got to play me at whatever I think." Make Tracks is that kind of game. It doesn't sugarcoat it. If you make the wrong mistake early, like right there, I shouldn't have gone straight through there, because after about 5 seconds of painting, the enemy creatures spawn out. So if you'll notice, I've got these two rollers here at the top and bottom of the screen that I can use to crush them. And if I leave them in the wrong position, like that down position there, and I'm getting chased, I can't use them. It's a very, very difficult situation to be in. But it's also very, very fun. It's challenging, it's complex, and the Maze Chaser is a game that really, by and large, does not exist anymore, simply because it was a game perfectly bred for the arcade environment, and that environment doesn't exist anymore. The closest you're going to get to a modern maze-chasing game are the PacMan Championship editions, which are absolutely beautiful, and I highly recommend them if you're looking for a modern take on this classic genre. PacMan Championship Edition and Championship Edition DX are phenomenal games that take most of the mechanics and conventions that you'll see in these games, like a weapon to use against the enemy that allows you to turn the table on them so they don't kill you consistently, and really just expands upon that for a modern audience, and actually incorporates the idea of bullet time and slowing time down into something like that, which is really exactly what games like that needed to make them more modern. So I highly recommend the Championship Edition if you're looking for games that have a old style arcade feel but are modern. As I get caught in the corner there. Oh, and you'll notice there are multiple pathways in here. So there's a little bit of a tunnel system where you can't go certain ways, like there's overhanging tunnels and that sort of thing. But Make Tracks, I just bring it up because I think it's one of those maze games that's really lost to time. One of the only other releases of that besides the arcade game is on the Neo Geo Pocket Color, a portable handheld system that I hope to do some showcases on at some point in the future. Next up, we're going to be looking at a game that really truly innovated the idea of speech in video games, and that would be Gorf. If you'll notice in the bottom right corner, there's the space rank system: Space Cadet, Space Captain, Space Colonel, Space General, Space Warrior, and Space Avenger. Your rank increases as you play through the game. This is also a game that allows you to, if you put in 1 credit, you'll have 3 ships. If you put in 2, you'll start with 6. I'm starting with 6 because I want to show you as much of the game as possible. And we start with something a little familiar. And and completely violating copyright because Space Invaders was made by Taito. Gorf is made by Midway. Midway, I believe, Midway was, or Bally Midway, whatever you like to call them, was the licensor for Space Invaders in the United States. But they did not actually own the rights, and I believe got into a little bit of trouble for this Astro Battle stage. Notice it doesn't say Space Invaders at all. But they got in trouble for using the Space Invaders ships in that. Second stage is Laser Attack, and that big red grimace looking thing up top, that is Gorf. And the next stage, this is a Bally Midway game. This is Galaxian, or the stage and title is Galaxians. But most of the tricks in Galaxian, or the point bonuses, still exist in this. For example, if I kill the red ship and then the Galaxian ship up there, I get a bonus. If you get a 2 Galaxian ship fallout and you kill the ship, the Galaxip, after killing its 2 hench ships, you'll get a point bonus as well. So it's actually nice to see this is one of the, I dare say, the first callbacks to previous works in video games. So it is nice to see that type of thing. And God, what am I saying that Galaxian was made by Bally Midway? No, it was licensed by Bally Midway. It was made by Namco. Bally Midway just licensed a whole bunch of Namco's arcade games. Ugh, God, I am not doing well. I will say, unfortunately, I didn't have enough. Killed Gorf there. I think I've got just about 2 or 3 more. Yep. There we go, through the space warp. And then the flagship, I've got to shoot through this barrier and shoot through the ship afterwards to try and hit that red spot in the center there. What is nice about Gorf compared to, say, Galaxian, which I spoke about briefly, especially when I was talking about, is in Galaxian you only have a single shot, and you have to wait until that clears the screen fully in order to shoot again. In Gorf, you are allowed to essentially cancel out your shot. You're also given enough.
Is this the game where it was Luther, and only he can defeat the Gorf?
What?
You know Luther. You remember the commercials with Luther? And he is the only guy that can this game. These 2 kids are playing. They're like, "Oh, I'm having fun playing this Atari game, but unfortunately, I'm a little kid and I suck, so I can't beat the last boss." So you get this like gigantic fucking kid named Luther, and Luther's the only guy that can beat the in-game boss. That was the ad for the game.
Oh, fuck, the Atari version of Gorf, which I do own on 26.
I'm actually talking about the same game?
Yes.
I thought I was mistaken. I was just sounding like something like that, but I thought it kind of looked familiar. It had an equally similarly just kind of like brutish name. Mm-hmm. Gorf. Gorf just sounds like an alien version of golf.
It sounds like one of the random alien species that you would see in a Star Wars spirit.
It's like, or like a really, really, really cheap, like third-rate breakfast food product. Make sure to eat your Gorf.
So
or a weird combination of trail mix and like Skittles and marshmallows all melted together. Gorf.
So hey, Will, if I were to ask you what's the sequel to Pac-Man, what would you say?
Um, uh, the game you played with the in the corner with the guy on the hang glider. You know, Adventures of Pac-Man, where we're like, hey, it's Pac-Man.
Yeah, no. I mean like the arcade sequel that everyone knows. I'm not talking about Pac-Man 2: The New Adventure, which is a phenomenal game.
Oh shit! I know the answer to this. Taxman.
Motherfucker. This was supposed to be a simple setup for you to say Miss Pac-Man and then I say you're wrong. But you had to ruin everything, ruiner.
By being right, because it was Taxman.
No, this is Namco's sequel to
This looks like
Pac-Man.
looks like Super Pac-Man.
This is
Not even the super at the bottom.
this is Super Pac-Man. This is Namco's sequel to Pac-Man.
Oh man, look at that Pac-Man logo. Like we're going to the Pac-Man surf shop.
But Super Pac-Man, this is a game that I played at Little Caesars Pizza in, God, I think that would be Sterling Heights, Michigan.
Wow, Little Caesars pizzas that had arcade machines.
Oh yes.
That definitely must have been only a thing in Illich country.
No, I think they were in other places, but
Our Little Caesars that I knew, even back when like my parents would get Little Caesars pizza, because like it was $5 and it was pizza, and we were kids and we were idiots.
hey,
Not there's anything wrong with Little Caesars pizza. There's just a very certain mindset and budget that you have to be in order to eat it. But the Little Caesars pizza in Columbia, South Carolina, where I grew up, it was like a shack. It was a very small build. The purpose of the Little Caesars pizza was not for people to dine in. It was for people to walk in, pick up their food. There's probably a little like cooler, like that big like refrigerator in the corner, so you can pick up soft drinks. And they've been like that all my life. The one that when I went to college in Greenville, that's the way Little Caesars was like. But when I lived in Florida, that's what Little Caesars was like there too. All Little Caesars I've known have not been like places where people sit down and eat. They've been, you know, places for people pick up their hot and ready pizzas because they're always ready.
yeah, no,
You walk into a Little Caesars, unless you're ordering something like really fucking like weird and like on special and like for a limited time only that they have to prepare. They've always got those hot and ready pizzas, so nobody ever came in to sit down and eat their food. They can pick it up and go.
yeah, no, that it probably is just a thing about being in Illich country. R.I.P. Mike
Let's
Illich.
explain to viewers who Mike Illich is and was, because he passed away recently.
Mike Illich owned Little Caesars Pizza. He also owned my beloved Detroit Red Wings. He owned the well, his family still does own the Detroit Tigers. He was a big philanthropist in the Michigan area. And one of the things that actually came out really post his death was the fact that he paid for Rosa Parks' rent until she died. But getting back to Super Pac-Man, Super Pac-Man was a game that I first played at Little Caesars Pizza, like a actual one that had restaurant seating that you could sit down and eat your pizza at. They had a bunch of arcade games. I remember playing Narc there. I played the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles pinball machine there, a whole bunch. And I played a lot of Miss Pac-Man there, and they had two versions of Miss Pac-Man. One which was the speed hack version, as it's commonly known now, which was hacked, or the turbo version, which was hacked so that Miss Pac-Man fucking flew around the maze at turbo speed, and then a regular version that didn't have that. But Super Pac-Man is just, it's the bastard Pac-Man game. Or, well, actually, no, that would be Pac and Pal, which I will not be playing. But Super Pac-Man has a lot of interesting ideas for a maze chase game, like this bonus round right here. When you're super, you can chew through those doors that you see, the orange lines, those are your doors. When you are supersized, you can chew through them. When you are not supersized, you have to gather keys to unlock them. And sometimes the keys are not in the most opportune positions. So, like, you'll see, I fucked myself by getting 2 of the super pellets right there. And now I will not be able to gather super ability anymore during this level. So I'm going to have to rely on trying to get the ghosts to follow certain patterns. Fortunately, the ghosts are a little bit faster than you in this version of Pac-Man. So it can be very difficult to avoid them. I'm just going to have to try and rely on the power pellets and hope I can get these last 2 burgers without dying. Fucking ghosts. But Super Pac-Man, it's the bastard child of the Pac-Man series, but I think it's also incredibly fun because it takes the maze dynamics and puts them on their head a little bit. There's more strategy. Unfortunately, playing any Pac-Man game, not using a 4-way joystick is a nightmare. Pac-Man relies.
You can't just get all the food. You have to get all the ghost pellets too.
You have to get all the pellets and all the food. Yeah.
That's stupid. That's fucking stupid.
That's how
the goal in Pac-Man is not to collect all the power-ups, it's to collect all the points.
Will?
And I know, like, the pellets, like the pellet points. It just doesn't make sense. Like, well, you shouldn't have to collect a power-up to win to clear a level.
Will,
you should have essentials if you need to clear a level. That's stupid. It's fucking stupid.
Will, you know that in regular Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man, you have to collect all the power pellets too, right?
Well, it's still stupid. I am be critical of a classic. I don't like that game feature. I feel like it defeats the purpose of clearing a level, which is not to like that you have to get every single last thing in the level, and especially not power-ups. Power is supposed to help you win. They're not supposed to be essential to winning.
Fair enough. Next up, we're going to be playing a little game that is actually incredibly innovative, but will look like shit for one very specific reason. This is Major Havoc, and Major Havoc is a vector game. And
oh my gosh! Did we play any vector games when I was in Chicago? I feel like we did.
Yeah, we played Tempest. I think we played Star Wars. Couple others.
Yeah. Gosh, that shit will give you a headache.
Well, like, vector games, honestly, I love because
they're very creative, very ahead of their time, but my gosh.
And incredibly sharp graphics.
Yeah, like, look at that shit.
But
that's a lot better than, like, your shooter vector games where things are coming at you. No, man, I can't. Those are fun, but I can't play a lot of that at once.
Well, here's your shooter portion, Will.
Oh, great. There always is.
You got a Virtual Boy set up here.
Hey, Virtual Boy night will come soon. You watch.
How are you going to do that? How are you going to do that?
Your head explode.
You can emulate Virtual Boy.
That seems...
Like, you won't get the feel of death, but you can emulate it. But Major Havoc...
You also won't get the searing headaches.
Oof. That was a bad move by me. But, anyway. Hi, Brian.
Hi.
Okay, so...
Now, I told you my favorite, like, futuristic, like, game thing, right, Kyle?
I believe you have.
It's it's only really in the arcades that I've seen it as an adult and kind of like loved it every time I've seen it. The holograms.
Oh yes,
Love the holograms.
like Coliseum and fucking God. Why can I never remember the
Like,
other?
I don't give a shit if your gameplay is terrible. I am fighting with a thing that is popping out from the screen, literally. Like it's another thing that's popped out from the screen. Like I feel like I'm in a few like I feel that's literally what I feel like the future is.
That
That is
is the future.
that is what the movies have told me the future is holograms fighting holograms. None of this like 3D shit. None of this vector shit. It's the holograms that even if it's just light tricks and shit, the holograms that are popping out of the screen. I love it.
I can completely understand that. So Major Havoc, the main reason why I want to show this is not only is it innovative in it's a game that contains multiple screens and multiple gameplay aspects, it's actually one of the first platforming games. So like your Super Mario Brothers, your Sonic the Hedgehogs, Major Havoc is one of the innovators in that field that no one really ever recognizes. And I personally, I have spent a lot of time playing Major Havoc. It's not the most fun game. It can be very taxing and very difficult at times, but I find great enjoyment out of it, and I also find it to be incredibly innovative. So I will always like if I and it's one of those games that I have never actually seen in the wild and probably never will, because the thing with vector games is vector monitors are incredibly expensive and hard to maintain. So like they provide incredibly sharp detail, and you'll notice the game looks kind of blurry and I'll be honest, crappy right now. And that's because on my fucking top of the line gaming PC that can run Overwatch in high settings at 60 frames a second, it can't emulate what a vector screen looks like. Nothing can,
That's
besides
funny.
a vector display. So yeah, you're kind of stuck with essentially a half-assed experience. And like there's other vector games that I would like to show, like Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, or Black Widow. Like Star Wars is obviously not a lesser-known title, but it is really, really quite one of the best Star Wars video games of all time. But I won't, because just playing them, like I know Will mentioned how vector games gave him a headache when we went to the Galloping Ghost when he visited me in Illinois. But playing emulated vector games gives me an awful headache. Like I hate the way they look. I hate the way they play. So yeah, this is basically just to show what game innovation like really truly occurred back in the 1983. Like the first platform, I think that's pretty important. All right, we're just gonna keep moving right along. I think I'm gonna do about maybe 4 more games tonight, and we'll pick up the rest. Ooh, I have a longer list than I expected. Yeah, and we're only on like game number 6, so this will probably continue, and I'll probably keep going year by year and adding more, like stuff that I don't think is justifiable for a full episode, but I think is enjoyable enough. So we're gonna do back-to-back ones about food.
Okay.
Fuck, I didn't mean to click that. Okay, so the list of stuff that I have, it actually has reasonable emulations of classic LCD games. So, like, if you ever played a Coleco arcade cabinet, or yeah, Coleco arcade cabinet that was like PacMan, and it was just like little light up PacMans across the screen. It has a
Wait. you have a lot of games on here.
Yes, I do.
Do you have Laserdisc games on here?
There are ways. I'm working
boy.
on them. I'm working on them.
You're working on them. Okay. Well, maybe I should make a request for a certain game involving a certain comedian that likes to smash a certain part of a certain food item.
He
Gallagher-
doesn't have a game, does he?
With a
Gallagher.
certain
Okay.
weapon.
Okay. Gallagher's Gallery is not ripped. Like, there is no way to emulate.
Wow, that's impressive. There's rips a lot of rare shit. For there not to be a rip of the Gallagher game tells you just how fucking Jesus.
That's awesome.
It's amazing.
Outstanding.
I think maybe it's because it's Laserdisc too, and that's. But I don't know. There's other Laserdisc games that are ripped, right, Kyle?
Oh yeah, like I could potentially play Dragon's Lair or Space Ace or your favorite Will, Mad Dog McCree. He's the man.
Liar.
God damn it. That I don't know why that is still so funny, but it will always be. If you have no idea what Will and I are talking about, and let's be frank, most of you don't, look up the intro to the video game Mad Dog McCree. Because there is essentially a tarted up Texas woman explaining how her daddy is the mayor in the most, like, sultry, I'm trying to sound slutty and wholesome at the same time voice you will ever hear. And she's basically trying to hit on your player character by letting you know that her dad is the mayor of the town you're going to.
I think what's really funny about it is I'm watching the clip now on kind of low volume. It doesn't really sound like she's trying to like impress you. It sounds like she's really attracted to her dad.
He's the mayor.
Plus, it's like, you're new around these parts. Have you met my dad? He's the mayor. And it's clearly it's not the interpretation you're supposed to get from it. But I'm watching, I'm like, she wants to fuck her dad because he's the mayor.
Oh, fuck yeah, triple pepper! Check that shit out! Fuck yeah, Burger Time! Anyway, this is Burger Time by Data East. Data East, a highly prolific developer.
This is a pretty crisp-looking game for 1982.
Oh yes, it's absolutely, like, it runs incredibly well. Basically, the best way I could say it's kind of a take on the Donkey Kong formula. You got ladders, you got platforms that you need to walk across. You have
But Kyle, I'm gonna make a request that I think you should have this on your MAME. Can we play some Dragon Quest? Or Dragon's Lair, excuse me, Dragon's Lair.
well, I don't have
That's
Dragon's
basic.
Lair on my MAME.
Well,
What?
that's the space base.
Well,
Any of those kind of games that are the FMV, so it's not like great gameplay, but just to show people how crisp those games look.
oh no, that is something. Here's the best way I can put it. Basically, in my MAME queue, like of games that I want to buy, which is, despite the fact that I have, I believe, 700 games on MAME at this time.
Wait, is that how it works? You still have to
No.
buy them?
No, not on MAME. Why did I say MAME? On Steam.
Okay.
So, despite the fact that I have 700 games on Steam, I have had Dragon's Lair and Space Ace on my Steam queue for a while. I just will never pull the trigger because I think they're overpriced. It's the same reason why there's some pinball games I want to showcase at some point, but I don't know if I ever will because of the price. So once I basically decide fuck it and bite the bullet, we'll show them. Okay, so that was Burger Time. We didn't talk much about Burger Time, but honestly, the best.
What do you need to fucking know about Burger Time?
Yes, the best thing I can tell you about Burger Time is try and find the commercial for Burger Time.
Ooh.
That's all. Like it is a fat man in a stereotypical black curly Italian wig and bushy mustache, making burgers while being chased by men in pickle, hot dog, and egg outfits.
All right.
And the
Sounds,
commercial ends with a obnoxious hot dog staring into the camera and screaming, "We are closed now!" But anyway, so the second...
This is selling games.
Well, because you want to be that chef.
Yes, I do.
The second food game we're going to play is Food Fight. This is a game by Atari. What's interesting about Food Fight is, if you've ever played a little game called Miss PacMan, created by the same people. Oof. Are my controls off? Guys, I'm going to have to go behind a window for a second, pause the game, and I gotta check my controls on this machine because something is...
Amiss.
Yes, a little amiss.
Well, let's vamp for a bit here. You ever notice that like every theory about like cartoons and like in shows and fictional universes is that all the characters are dead?
What?
I think that's gotta be the most common theme of those theories.
I'm confused by what you're telling me.
Because like I'm looking at Ed and Eddie right now, and the theory behind Ed and Eddie is that all the characters are dead.
And that they're just living in a dead, like...
They're in purgatory.
Okay.
The show is taking place in purgatory.
That's an interesting theory.
Yeah, but I think if you looked at most of those like theories for like cartoons and shit, most of them would suggest that all the characters are dead because people just think like that for some reason.
I think that's just kind of that's a go-to. People just like that. People want that to be the case. They want to be the one that uncovered this.
Well, if...
Really...
There's a whole show about that. It's called Gravity Falls.
But no, they weren't dead the whole time.
That's not what I mean. The theory about
the big
people
reveal.
wanting to uncover everything.
Okay, I understand.
And I just would sit down and be like, "This is a really good kids show. That's very fun to watch. It has great jokes."
It
I
sure
don't want to think about
does.
unscrambling 50 million mysteries.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, you don't. I'm gonna get into fanboy mode here, and that to me, that's the appeal, is that it's entirely that's the beauty of it. You can watch it without having followed all that along. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not for me. I'm not a big kind of like secret hidden things. I mean, they're always fun to find, but
you can watch the show without getting into the whole thing.
Yeah, that's
I think that's the trick. That's the trick for these shows that are all like this. You got to be able to is that delicate balance between your casual fan who will watch all the episodes, but won't do all the deep digging and shit like that. The one who will do the deep digging, and the people who are just gonna tune in for an episode and be like, "Oh, I was entertained for a half hour." You need to that's a lot. Episodic shows. That's very much the case is, and that's tough.
I mean, Raw, for instance.
It's the longest episodic program in television history.
Exactly.
Somehow, they've done it.
And I'm not sure if you knew this, Brian, but all the characters on Raw
are dead.
Theory that they're all dead.
Okay. That's what I thought.
Guys, I've got my own theory that ever is a long, long time in the World Wrestling Federation.
Well, yeah, they just live forever and ever because they're dead.
Oh, by the way, we're playing Bump and Jump, aka Burn and Rubber, another game made by Data East. Because Food Fight didn't work because that's one of the things that you will run into. If a game has a strange control scheme, which Food Fight absolutely does, it uses a joystick that essentially can move in 49 directions. So, trying to emulate that can be a bitch. And program does the best it can, but sometimes it can't do that. Now, if we want to talk about fan theories, I would like to expunge upon my favorite one, the one that I came up with, that explains most of the plot, the reasoning behind The Simpsons.
Okay. I'm actually intrigued by this.
Okay.
Because you don't really hear a lot of theorizing about The Simpsons. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Everything's pretty just cut and dry, explained.
Except for
But
one thing.
and actually, I just by saying that, I remember hearing this. So I'm gonna let you go. But I remember hearing this, and I remember loving it.
Okay, so The Simpsons is pretty, like, cut and dry. Sure, there's some wacky, outlandish stuff. Homer goes into space. Homer gets fired from the nuclear power plant constantly. But, so, that's where my theory comes in. Homer Simpson and the Simpsons family, there's no legitimate reason why they should have a 2-story house, 4-bedroom, 2-bath, with a basement, with a rumpus room that randomly appears from time to time. Like, and Homer is not very well off. Like, it's been established in the show. So there's no real reason why they should be perfectly fine, especially when Homer gets fired, even though he shouldn't be, because don't forget you're here forever. But especially when Homer gets fired nearly constantly, there's no reason why the Simpson family should be financially stable. And yet they are. And here's my theory. All of that stems from the B-Sharps. And one small line in the B-Sharps episode, which was... I can't remember the last time we all were together. And Apu responds, last year on that stupid Dame Edna special. Now, if you aren't aware who Dame Edna is a character portrayed by Australian comedian Barry Humphries, who is very popular in Australia and Europe. It's a man in drag, like, essentially like a... I'd say 60-year-old blue-haired woman who's very eccentric. So, if the B-Sharps are reuniting for a Dame Edna special somewhere in Europe, there is still popularity there. Even if they haven't recorded since their second album, Bigger Than Jesus, there is still some popularity to be had there. So my theory is Homer's entire financial situation is perfectly fine because of that B-Sharps money. And the reason why Homer doesn't know or doesn't, like, even think about it is because of the constant head injuries. All the constant head injuries make him not remember his essentially substantial wealth. But Marge does.
You know what?
And Marge...
I disagree, Kyle, because I think he wastes all the royalty money on pumpkin futures so he can buy them. He sold them for some pumpkin futures. So it's gotta be like a different source. He's so notoriously like bad with money that you would think that any royalties or tour money or he would sell it down the river.
Well, no,
He's an idiot.
This isn't what I thought you said either. By the way, I thought I read something that Wembley said in the chat. And I realized I couldn't log in. I think probably because you're logged in right now, which is fine. I was going to acknowledge Wembley, and I'll just do it over stream.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
It's the one that I heard is closer to what Wembley posted. It's like one I hear about The Simpsons that's all made up in Homer's head after the beer can blows up on April Fool's, and it's the one that Homer's in a coma at some point, never wakes out of it, and it explains why the series takes a turn from the realistic to the more absurd.
Oh yeah, like I've heard that. I've also heard the reason why the Simpsons don't age is that it's all Maggie observing it. Like it's, or not why the Simpsons don't age, but why like there's the outlandish with the realistic is it's all the observations of Maggie as a baby. And so like it's imagination type thing. But the one I stick with my B Sharps one simply because There is no reason why the family should be financially stable when Homer gets fired constantly. There's no reason um, why he should be able to just quit his job constantly and get outlandish new positions, except for the fact that they always have that security blanket and that money, and Homer just does not realize it because of his injuries.
Mm.
Like,
But that's at least that's more just explaining away how the show can do this stuff.
yes, exactly. It's not like, oh, it's outlandish because of X, Y, and Z. No, it's explaining like Homer is not a good employee, gets fired constantly, leaves for new jobs constantly, but the financial status quo never changes. And sure, there's times when they're hard up for money, but I look at that as that's like when they're in between royalty checks or something like that. Like, if they're in between royalty checks and Homer is fired at the same time, that's the only time when like the the money concerns actually exist.
Right.
Oh, and Char is right. Lisa does the books for the Simpson family according to an episode, so it could just be, yeah, Homer never ever sees that money or touches that money.
Well, to add credence to your theory, think about it. Who's the most famous? Who's the most famous civilian in the world who's been known to go to space as a lark? It's one of the members of NSYNC.
But doesn't Homer go to space too? I mean, where's
Homer
that
goes to space, and he's a former pop star.
Well, Homer goes to
I'm
space.
trying to remember which NSYNC guy likes to go to space a lot.
Well, he didn't go to space a lot. He tried to. That was Lance Bass.
I want to say there was another one that that spent his money going buying a flight to space. I don't think it was. I think it was somebody else other than Lance Bass. But it'd be weird if two of those. It would be weird if there were two people that wanted to buy trips into space that were boy band members. So my mind would just be thinking of Lance Bass. But my point still stands. Homer uses his pop star money to go to space. Well, that's certainly very feasible. Enough of this common Joe stuff. Homer was a terrible astronaut. He had to pay his way in. You just didn't see that.
He only got his way in because Barney got drunk on non-alcoholic champagne.
Well, yeah, but even after that, they could have just scrapped the mission, but Homer didn't want to look foolish in front of Marge and the kids, so he popped out his money and bought his way into going into space. They would have scrapped the mission because Homer was not competent as an astronaut. But
also, just wanted to let people know we switched games again. This is Mr. Do by Universal. I believe it is, yes, that Universal, the film company. Their foray into arcade games, if I am not mistaken. And Mr. Do is probably best known for being the arcade game that's at the Max and Saved by the Bell.
Nice. I'm actually going to drop off. I wanted to stop in and say hello to everyone. And hello to you, gentlemen. And checking, because I do always enjoy this. It just unfortunately, it's like the days that you stream are also kind of like, Brian needs a break.
Oh, yes,
so,
no.
It's important that kind of lines up. But hi, everybody, and I'll see you guys at some point.
Mm-hmm. Thankfully, this is going to be the last game of the evening. Originally, this was going to be a three-parter, and then I ended up spending more time on games than I probably should have, but at the same time, I'm having fun, so this is just going to be a recurring thing. We'll go back and we'll look at arcade games that don't really warrant an entire episode to themselves, because there are several that do. But I think that's really all I've got today. Will, you got anything to plug?
Not really.
Alright, well, obviously South Tucson Youth Football, typically on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, unless there's other stuff going on for us. We are finishing up recording the next couple of Kumites, so Kumite will be upcoming soon. And honestly, that's all. Next week I will be taking a week off because no, I will be back on Thursday. So I might be streaming next Thursday, doing more games. So I'll just leave you with a couple of games that we would be seeing. We'll be taking a look at one of Sega's earliest arcade games. That would be Pengo. We'll be looking at one of the most popular arcade games for the era that's now completely forgotten, which is Time Pilot. We'll be looking at arcade game that now is actually better known for being a famous musical group. That would be Crystal Castles. We'll be looking at the unheralded second sequel to one of the most popular arcade games of all time. That's Donkey Kong 3. And we'll be looking at the most terrifying arcade game I can think of, that is Snacks and Jackson. But I'm Kyle. This has been Kyle Replays His Childhood. Thanks for taking a trip back with us. Say goodnight, Will. Oh, damn it, Will. Abandoned me.